Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark, so we're here to bring you as much light and as much joy as possible. Again, I'm Bradley, and I'm joined by His Holiness, the new Pope, I think. I don't know who the new Pope is, but I'm assuming it's Stu. How you doing, Stu?
No, it can't be me because I'm not American, you see. It's an American thing now, apparently.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Good Pope or bad Pope? I don't know where we are with this one.
Well, he's already denounced JD Vance, so that's
Sweet.
Yeah, that's going in the right direction.
Cool. That's always good. If we could have a nice progressive Pope that accepts everyone for who they are. The only racism there should be is for orange people.
True. We want a woke Pope. That's what we want.
A woke Pope, yes. Yeah. He'll start a podcast with someone, Joey Barton will moan at him, something like that. Anyway. I don't even know what I've got. It's all business today, I think. I think we should go straight in, all business.
Why?
Because you know what is the best business in the world, Stu? Where there's no controversy ever.
What's that?
It's video games, Stu.
Oh, video games. Totally uncontroversial business practices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But before you ask the question, just want to reiterate, I've now seen the credits roll on Clair Obscur, just doubling down. One of the best of all time. It's amazing. I was in tears at points and everything. It is just, if you ever get a chance to play it, do so. It is just the best thing I've ever played outside of Tetris.
Yeah, well, that's really high praise. I know that it got a 10 in Edge magazine, so, it's very well liked.
Yeah, very much so. Deserved Edge 10. I don't know how many 10s they give out, but it's better than an Edge 7, that's for sure.
Yeah, they don't give them out very often. But talking of games that may or may not score highly, what have you been playing?
So, when you've come off the back of an all-timer, it's very hard for the next game you play. So, the next game I gave a go it's still about, is called Enshrouded, which was and still is in early access, but it's had a few updates and stuff like that. And it's an open world survival base building type affair with co-op included. So you take on the role as something known as Flameborn, and you basically need to go around and survive the world that's crumbling around you. It's how to put it. It's a very odd game where it's definitely focused on being like this multiplayer type thing, this co-op thing, but has a single player option to it. But as you're playing it single player, you definitely feel like you're losing something. It looks stunning in many places, and the combat's fine. It's definitely like an action-based survival game, which I like. It's not one where you walk in 5 steps and you're really, really weak, and it's like, oh, you're hungry now, and then you eat, and then another few steps. It's like, oh, you're thirsty now. It's more of an action survival type thing, and like Clair Obscur, I suppose 2D action adventure games, you get all these different builds you can do to progress through levels, take down various enemies that range from minion type enemies to sort of mid bosses, bigger bosses. And there's almost at points a Monster Hunter feel to proceedings, where you're going round, you come up against these big beasties, and you've really got to work to take them down, whilst also dealing with smaller enemies and things like that. And you get all your different abilities that you can use that are elemental in nature, I would say. So there's like lots of lightning effects and earth effects and all different kind of things like that. And then it layers on top of that a base building type affair where you have to sort of like build outposts in a way, or buildings that you can rest in, and it allows you to be creative and that sort of thing. And then you've got upgrade trees that allow you better powers, better weapons, all that kind of thing, boost HP, everything that's there. And the idea, I suppose, behind it is that you're working in this world, surviving, adventuring, building a base up, and then you bring your friends into the world with you and they can help you, or you can go out on journeys with them. Not Minecrafty, bit World of Warcrafty in that respect, the building being a bit Minecrafty in nature. It's really, really good overall, but the problem is, for me, there's too many layers to it, and I want to enjoy one or two of them, not the 3 or 4 that's on top of it. And I think what the problem it's got is that the layers it has are too different. So again, I don't want to go back and compare it to Clair Obscur. Clair Obscur had many layers to it, but they all interlinked really, really well. So the point of exploration was to sort of like start boosting your stats and level up and stuff like that, and it introduced new ways of dodging or parrying or different types of attacks, and it layered those, but they all linked into an end game. Whereas this feels like this could be maybe 2 separate games that are just melded together, and they don't quite fit, but neither of them are bad. Everything it does is enjoyable, just not as one entire package. That said, it is still early access, and the developers have still got time to try and make it click. It's one of those games now at its stage where, for me, it's could go one way or another. It could be a brilliant game that I think it'll find a subset, it'll find an audience and will go places, or it'll just fall by the wayside. I don't think there's going to be any middle ground for this game. But it's a solid title that I hope goes the good path rather than just falling into complete obscurity. But yeah, it's fine for what it is. I just don't think I'm long-term invested in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a pretty crowded market as well, isn't it? And
yeah,
it's hard to stand out. And I know that there seem to be a lot of games now that have like, because of the whole roguelike and roguelite thing, they're kind of grabbing elements from other games and other styles, and I think that's good to a degree, but sometimes they feel a little bit forced, and I'm a bit worried that there's a lot of games that are putting in survival elements are being the new thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a bit kind of like, I'm not sure. So would you say that like the survival elements are a good part of the balance, or are they one of the things that take away from it a bit?
No, the survival's really good. It's one of the better survival games. And if it was survival with base building, I think you've got a really good game. And then if you've got the other part, which is the all-action Monster Hunter-y type stuff going on, you've got another good game. Neither are bad, and it's so hard to explain because I don't think any take away from the other, but they don't add either. It just really feels like you've got 2 separate games here, and both are decent. That's the problem. It needs to lean into one of them heavily and let the others then just be supplementary to it. But every part is equal to its detriment as an overall experience. And I'm trying to explain it in a way that doesn't make me sound like Matt Dillon explaining architecture in Something About Mary. But it's actually I feel like it's an overall. You've got to look at it as a. But yeah, it needs to find a focus, and it lacks that focus at the moment. But it's not bad. It's not a bad game. If I'd have come into this 3 months ago, I think I'd have been a lot more, yeah, this is it. But I've just been spoiled. And I think this the harsh reality sometimes for some games is when you go into it compared to what you've just played. If I'd have gone into it having played, I don't know, Asset Flip 3000, I probably would have thought, yeah, this is amazing. Every part of it works really well. But I've seen where the grass is greener. And unfortunately, this isn't quite there, but it's got legs, and it should hopefully find a community that that can really appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, good. I hope so. It does sound from what you say like there's room for them to, to build before it gets to the full release. So yeah, fingers crossed for it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, obviously, last week and over the past couple of weeks, I've been playing a game with amazing music, amazing storytelling. It's got characterization. It's very mature in nature. Amazingly balanced gameplay that, it's nice and turn-based, nice and serene. I understand you've been playing a very similar game, Stu.
Well, I see where you're going with this, but actually you've struck on a good few things there that it does have. And what I am playing is Doom the Dark Ages. So I only got this yesterday, no key for it, just, got the copy from a PS5, and so I've been hammering that as hard as I can. Wanted to get some impressions out as early as possible. And yeah, so, there's a lot of stuff out there about the game. It's a huge release. For me, it's like a AAA, and I never get AAAs, so it's like really uncommon, and I've been really hyped for it. And also I've really liked all the recent Doom stuff, to one degree or another, and I'll talk about that later. So yeah, really, really hyped for it. So got engaged with it, got playing. So what do I think? Well, I think it's really good, and that might go up to excellent very soon. It's still putting together the tapestry of what the game is at the moment, even though I'm 4 chapters in, but it's still introducing a lot of game elements, which is really good, because it's this great thing of everything in their games as an individual unit, like component, is dead simple. But when you put it all together, it gets to be more complicated. And it's very much like a fighting game like that. Their games, all 3 of their new, in inverted commas, Doom games are like fighting games in that they have things that are powerful but might not be relevant in a situation. They might leave you exposed, so you use something lighter or weaker, and that has its own benefits. And they've got it very carefully and cleverly constructed like that. But yeah, your first impressions when you play it, like, it's very atmospheric. It's done that thing, I'm not sure, but it feels like it'd trying to copy that Warhammer 40,000 thing of being a big meta joke about grim, dark power fantasies. But as usual, like, that might be a generous interpretation. It's definitely a safer thing to say it's a 14-year-old's idea of power fantasy perfection and leave it at that, to be honest. But it's not off-putting. It's sexless, so it doesn't exploit women. So that's fine. So it's not doing any misogyny, and the only thing that you can level a complaint at it about is being too violent, which I would never do, because for me, games can never really be too violent, as long as it's cartoonish. But we all know this. And atmospherically, it's got that coming out of the wazoo. It's got right when you start, rain, mist, fire effects, tons of these effects that make you feel like you're trudging through this sludge and mire. It's one of the most in the place games, like, that make you feel like you're living in part of it, that's not VR, that I've seen for years. It's got just absolutely brilliant atmospherics, and it really sort of doubles down and builds on that straight away by you've got destructible scenery, which it's great. You've got demons bursting through walls. You got, it's like the developers stopped doing that about like 15, 20 years ago, and then suddenly have been like, oh yeah, that's really cool, isn't it? Let's bring that back. And it really brings with that immersion, the feeling of bullets hitting flesh, and great big gobbets and chunks are flying off characters, and the stuff that that's caught in your crossfire is bursting into little pieces, and it leaves divots in walls. And if you've been missing heavy metal games being properly grungy and gut spattering and in real time, you'll have a great time with this, because it really does that. And the whole Slayer album cover vibe, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, or a double-edged claymore. because the palettes in each of the levels is mostly monochrome, and the details are really colourful and they're eye-catching when you're flashing around the stage and twatting everything in sight. But because you're doing that, it kind of blurs into a bit of a monochrome slurry when you're going at that speed. I think, we like, and a lot of people like, aesthetics where there's like a motif in the level. There's something that, let's say there's a giant fallen robot in the background, or there's a big splash of pink against part of the sky, or there's a motif that just draws your eye and brings that aesthetic. It doesn't have that, well, at least not where I've played to. It's beautifully done, and everything is beautifully rendered, and the closer up you get to it, the better it looks. But as a gestalt, as an entire feeling, it's a little bit kind of monochrome. But you kind of expect that with Doom. That's just the way it is. But in terms of like the gameplay itself, it's great. What they've done, right? They've made it, you're heavy and you're slow, but you get short bursts of speed and dash attacks that have a longish cooldown. So you've got to be really careful about how you zip around. So what does that call to mind? Well, when I was playing it, what immediately brought to mind is mech games. It's like a mech game. It's you're really powerful and you can be really agile, but at a cost. And it makes you feel weighty and grounded, and that really works to its benefit if you like this kind of game. So if you go into it thinking it's like more like a mech game than it is, Doom Eternal was, or even Doom 2016 to a lesser extent, you're going to have a better time acclimatizing to it. Because you need to think of it that way, that like Armored Core or not so much Titanfall 2, because that was more of a zippy mech game, but something like Armored Core or even Mech Warrior, where you're really heavy and you will pay a price to do the speedier moves, and you have to be careful about them. But what works great about that is that it plays into the combat loop really well. So there's more of a kind of tactics and strategy to this than there was with Doom 2016. And Doom Eternal really pushed that to the far end, where each enemy needed you to do a very specific thing to them so that you could maintain either your health or your armor or your ammo. This doesn't do it quite to that extent, but it's still got an element of that. But it does it more by making some enemies really, really tough, and not bullet spongy, but requiring a very specific attack pattern. So it's clever. You have to think about weakening stuff, incapacitating them, zipping between different parts of the horde, both for evasion and to destroy the key bits. And you have to block, you have to parry, you have to defend, and then you have to get busy meleeing, because it's a really massive melee game. It's the focus has been taken away from firing weapons, and it's been put onto this new shield that you've got, which you can throw Captain America style, and your punch, which your glove, your punching glove, your gauntlet, which you can upgrade, and this brings in a bit of a Souls-like influence as well. I mean, a shield in an FPS, you know what I mean? It's like, the stamina restriction on how you can punch and when and how often, and evasion is as important as offense, even the font in the game is a bit Souls-like. So it's not Bloodborne by any stretch, but it's definitely copied its homework, and there's that feeling in there as well. So what you're getting with this game is similar in DNA to the last two games, but it's got enough of other elements thrown in that make it really distinct, and those are the things that are going to divide opinion. And it's another one of those games, like we've said millions of times, that like Halo, if it was called Shooty Man game and it didn't have that expectation, people would be raving about it, but people are going to moan because they might have felt one was better than the other. And the thing is, that's not the attitude to have, because Doom Eternal wasn't for me. I didn't get on with it, but I will sing its praises.
No, I'm with you there.
I'll sing its praises to high heaven, because it's a brilliant game. It's just not a game for me. Whereas Doom 3, I loved that game. I thought it was fantastic, but it's one probably out of all of them people like the least. but it just connected with me. It's just a game that I connected with. And it's going to be the same with this one. It will connect with some people and it won't with others because of the heavy atmosphere, because of the aesthetics, because of the way you move around, because the enemies, they're all basically, I think, there are not all new enemies. There are the mancubus and the imps and all of that, and stuff shows up, but they're tweaked again and there are new enemies. And so when you've got all that newness and the guns have all changed and their power levels are way reduced, it's going to change people's perceptions of it. And then some people are going to be like, oh, this isn't the Doom I love. But you see, that's fine. If it's not the Doom you love, that's okay. Try and engage it on a different perspective and think of it as a different game and go with it from that. And if you still don't like it, fair play. But for me, I really like the systems. I find it very difficult, even on a comparatively moderate difficulty setting. I don't mind that. I'm liking the challenge because what it's challenging me to do is to think and be very careful and tactical about what enemies I take out. And there aren't very many games, first-person shooters or first-person melee games, that actually do that and keep the pace up. So I'm very, very impressed with it and really enjoying it at the moment.
Excellent. No, I'm glad that you are enjoying it. What I would say is, had you not told me beforehand the game you was describing was a Doom game, I would have gone, this sounds like really, really good. What's this game in this brand new franchise or this brand new IP? And do you not think that maybe we get to a point where with some of these games we're going, well, this isn't actually a Doom game. If we'd have set this in the Doom universe, but as a spin-off title, so is it still Doom Guy, by the way, that you're playing? Yeah,
it's still the Doom Slayer, as they called him.
Yeah,
in the last in these three games. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Would it not have been better if it was set in the Doom universe, but as a new character? So you can still have, if you're using the Doom Slayer or the Doom Guy, it's just pure, just go out there, shoot stuff. But we're doing these other stories or these other games within the universe using Doomenic or something like that. Doomenic.
Nice.
Doomenic.
I like it.
And you can do these other things, because if you're telling me it's a Doom game and it's Doom, which is what they are doing, even despite having the taglines, then I just expect it, right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to shoot shit, and I'm away. That's what Doom 2016 was. It fell in line with the Doom 1 and Doom 2 games, whereas Doom Eternal, for me, felt more in line with Doom 3. Which, again, I like Doom 3. I thought it was a technical showcase to start off with. It done lighting like I hadn't seen before at the time. And it just looked absolutely stunning. But if you then go, right, these now, Doom 3, Doom the Dark Ages, Doom Eternal, these are spin-off titles in the Doom universe, then I'm all in for that. But the problem is, you're telling me it's Doom. Doom is, I switch my brain off and I shoot everything in front of me. And that is what I lacked in Doom Eternal. And when what I've seen of this is what puts me off it, but makes me go, well, this isn't Doom. I've got to go into this thinking this is a completely different game.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a lot to that. I think they've got the issue of art meeting commerce. I think they want to be able to do new things and move their work in a new direction, but at the same time they want the cachet and the IP recognition of it being a Doom game. And ideally, yeah, I think it would have been better suited as being... you can't really call it Quake, because I've heard people online saying, oh, it's more like Quake. It's not really. It's not like Quake.
Quake's got less story than Doom.
Precisely. And yeah, no, it's not. There's visual elements that are more Quake aligned than they are Doom aligned, but even so, it's not a Quake game.
But still good, and that's the important thing.
It's very the way that the thing that is common across this new trilogy, as they're calling it, is dropping into arenas where there are hordes and sorting them out, and it's how you sort them out that has differed between the three of them. But the focus is still very much on you've got to press the attack rather than you've got to retreat and back and fill and strafe, and it's more you go from one enemy to the next, bang, 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 in a row, chaining them, much like like a fighting game or a shooting game, and being on the front foot. And that's very different from Doom 1 and 2, which was, corridors, blind spots, monster closets. Hubs didn't really... There were the odd ones where you remember the walls dropped and suddenly you were in an arena with tons and tons of, like arachnoids or whatever they're called. There were bits like that, but they were the exception rather than the rule. So it carries along that as part of this trilogy. So the hub arena bits are exactly the same as Doom and Doom Eternal, but the gameplay itself and the way that you fight is very different. So I think they can make that argument that it should be Doom because they want to carry through that trilogy. Yeah. But overall, I would like the id who are willing to do a Rage. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Rage either, so kind of scuppering. It was all right. It was okay. Maybe I should give that another try. But anyway...
I never got the hate, honestly. I thought it was a good, solid game. But I think it's because it's off-id and people may be expecting Doom 2.0, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
All of this shows us, really, that id can't win, no matter what they do.
No.
Yeah, they're kind of scuppered.
While we're on the word id, and we're with them, one of the things id have always been known for is their games running on... being scaled amazingly, Doom 2016 running on a Nintendo Switch at a decent solid pace and everything, and we can't clarify because neither of us have played it on Steam Deck yet, but apparently it doesn't run very well, doesn't scale very well to a Steam Deck at present.
No, apparently not, and I think it's down to the fact that it works really well for modern stuff in general. But because it's been pitched, I think, as the baseline being, the Series X and the PS5, where global ray traced illumination and reflections are switched on by default, and Steam Deck's only got a very, very small capability with ray tracing, very small, and I think it doesn't really meet that baseline, and I think there are ways around it because id Tech 8, the engine that it's running on, has got lots and lots of background tweaks where you can turn things on and off really, really well. Yeah. So my advice would be, if you wanting this primarily for Steam Deck, is to wait, because I would not be surprised if there are, well, first off, some community enhancements that come along and help, and then some id developed enhancements that will also help.
Yeah.
Because the base game looks lovely, but it's not anything ultra crazy. And if you can get Cyberpunk 2077 running, as well as you can on Steam Deck, then I can't see any problem eventually getting it to that state. So it's a wait and see, really, I think.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed. And it's definitely not with a Doom. I'd argue it's not one you can really play on streaming either, because I think you'll lose something with the pace needed on that. But yeah, no, good. I was going to do two more, but we spent a lot of time on Doom. By the way, Doomenic is going to be the podcast title, I'm sure of it.
Oh, it's got to happen.
Yeah. So, I've got two games I could have talked about, but I'm going to... One would have been a bit more of a, I've just coming off the back of this, it's, could it have been better kind of thing. The other one is just an absolutely... lovely game that shows you the power of video games and the stories you can tell using the medium that you otherwise probably wouldn't be able to tell in any other way. And I'll butcher the pronunciation, but it's Despelote, which is a very, very short narrative adventure based around football, essentially. So it's first person. First of all, just want to point out, art style is utterly unique. So it kind of uses this lo-fi photographed area thing where everything's like monochromed, but you can tell it's taken from real scans, like the areas you're in and everything. And then it's these hand-drawn white characters that are just done like pencil drawings over the top, and they've got the movement. It's just you've got to see it. It's beautiful by being so low quality. It just works. But anyway, the game is this kind of coming of age tale that tells the story of Ecuador around the time of financial and countrywide crisis in 2001, but also uses the story of Ecuador trying to qualify for the World Cup and actually having a chance for the first time to try and make it to like Japan and Korea 2002 World Cup. And like the whole sort of like town you're in is gripped by World Cup qualifying fever. And the story moves along based on each qualification match that's going on. And kind of one of the early parts of it is really, really good, whereby you're being picked up by a babysitter or a friend of the family or something, and you've got to go with her. She's not really interested in the football, so she goes, you've got to go and sit down on this bench while I go and do this thing that I've got to do. But don't you move, and I'll be back at 6:30. But as she's taking you to the park where you've got to wait, you go past and you know it's Ecuador versus Argentina. And you're playing a child, so what's the first thing you're going to do as a child? You're going to completely ignore what she said, go off and check the, how the game's going, because it's only a short walk away. And it's not a spoiler because you can check the results yourself. But if you don't want to know the result, look away now. Hey. But it's, you kind of go in Argentina, take a 2-goal lead. You're like, well, this is clearly going to go to a defeat and stuff like that. And then you see some of your peers, some of your friends are playing with a ball, so you go and play football with them and stuff happens. And what's happening is you're basically this child and you're kicking a ball around, and that's basically what you do in the game. But around you, you've got like the World Cup qualifying going on. But you've also got this civil unrest going on, and you kind of hear the adults talking and going on about it, or you hear news clips that are not completely thrown at you because you're a child. You don't care about these things, but it's happening, and you kind of get it. It's just on this outside, you'll get like these speech bubbles pop up, and you'll hear people talking, and you might be like at dinner with your family, and you can hear there's a stress amongst them as they're talking about like the turmoil that's going on, but also the importance of Ecuador qualifying for the World Cup and everything. You've got loads of little amazing touches in it. So one of the brilliant ones is you've got this like video game console, and you can play a very basic football game on this video game console, but you play it in first person as the character you're as, looking at the screen with the controller in their hand, but you can play the actual game of football on there, and it's really, really well good. And what's really cool is all the achievements are based around this little game of football that you get. So the whole narrative is this one thing, and it's where the main focus of the game is. But every single achievement you get is based on this. So it'll be, if you score a goal in this game, you get an achievement. If you win by X amount of goals, you get an achievement. If you lose by X amount of goals, you get an achievement. No achievements at any other part of the game. And I think it's a really clever little nice addition to it. But what you kind of do as the viewer, as like me and you playing it, so to speak, is you start to try and take notice of what's going on around. But obviously you're still playing the part of this child who doesn't really care, but is still picking up these things. And you start to listen to conversation a bit more, and you get more of what it was actually like, life in Ecuador, which wasn't a rich country at the time. I don't know what the current state is, but it's one of these stories that you wouldn't have been told otherwise. And you're getting it from the perspective of someone who lived there, and it's semi-autobiographical. In nature, and you're getting what their perspective of growing up here was and what all they cared about, but getting these snippets of what's going on. And it's just such a wonderful way to tell a story that I've never heard before. I didn't know the history of Ecuador. I didn't know the turmoil, political, and like they'd just been like got rid of their own currency and were taking on the American dollar, which absolutely wiped them out and stuff like that. And you first of all, you're hearing about, the American dollar, we got rid of this, but you don't know why. or anything like that. And when you see the footage of the World Cup qualifiers and stuff like that, it uses proper footage on the TV screens, but lo-fi down and everything. It's just an utterly wonderful game to play that unfortunately I think will be passed by a lot of people because, it's a football game, I don't care. It's, look at it, it's rubbish graphics, or it's just one of those indie story games. But honestly, it is an experience unlike anything I've played before in such a good way. And it just shows the power of indie development of video games that you just don't get anywhere else. And if you, again, we'll talk about it, you've been playing Doom, which can do things in one way, to then go deeper and find something like this that could do stuff in just this most magical way possible. And yeah, you couldn't sell a system on this. You couldn't be telling people, oh my god, yeah, you've got to play this on PlayStation 5 or whatever. It's a deeply personal story that goes beyond just being a walking simulator. I mean, at one point I was just walking along kicking a football about, and that's fun in itself. But because you're a child, your skill levels aren't very good as well. So you're kicking a ball out, but you easily lose it and sort of like, where's the ball? I want to go and get it back and kick it back. All nice little touches, but the emotion, the storytelling, everything is it's outstanding.
Yeah, that sounds great. Like you said, the ability for video games to do something that you can't experience anywhere else. Tell a narrative story that you've never heard before in a way that's really gorgeous, like you might see in like animation. Like I'm looking at the graphics, done in that animation style. It's really good, but it be interactive. You're not watching a Middle European cartoon. You're actually playing a game. That's great, and also the way that they've approached it sounds like you're doing things in the game that you don't really do in video games, or not in that way, which is really clever. So I'm actually pretty attracted to this. I might have to pick a copy up.
Yeah, it's like 12 quid as well. It's an absolute bargain for what you got. I mean, you're over in a few hours, but you're getting more than you would, like you're paying 12 quid for a ticket at a cinema. For example, you're getting more than an hour and a half from it. So there's that aspect to it. And I said, this is one of those, I think if this was released as a film, it'd be one of those that would be an absolute darling at like Cannes or the Toronto Film Festival or something like that, but never gain any traction outside of those events. It's kind of, that's what it is. It'll be a darling for some people, but it just wouldn't reach anyone else. Whereas I think with video games, it will come out now and people will pick it up for those that were interested and saw it at the various like Wholesome Games presentations a couple of years ago. And I think I first saw this at the Latin American games presentation during not E3. And it was just like, yeah, I'm on this one straight away. But if it does its first run here, you stick this in a Humble Bundle or something like that, down the line, and I think that's where it can gain traction. But yeah, if you're interested in narrative at all, do pick this up because it is just absolutely wonderful visually. Oh my god, amazing as well.
Marvelous, great. I mean, it's on the wish list. It'll probably take a while because we're starting to hit backlog season now. But yeah.
And obviously you still got to play Clair Obscur, so
I've got that to fit in, Doom, and then Death Stranding 2 coming out. It's a tight time.
Yeah, Kojima's a weird bastard, so I'm interested to see what Death Stranding 2 does.
Too. Yeah, you can never predict with that fella. He's an oddball.
No, it could be the worst game ever, but it's still interesting because it's Kojima.
Precisely.
But yeah, I'm still on backlog. I've got so many games to go. I mean, I could have talked about Steel Seed. I've got the Precinct to play, Post Trauma, Monster Train 2. What else? Dunk, the new Duck Detective game, the sequel that's just come out, Tempest Rising, which is a what's it called, Command and Conquer new type thing as well. There's just so much to play, so many good things, and it's just and we'll say it again, it's something we say quite regularly. If you're worried about the state of the industry because you're only looking at AAA and the top of the ladder, or the bottom of the ladder as it should, actually the bottom of the barrel, the AAA. We won't even put them in the top. Just look at what the indies are doing, because they are continually putting AAA to shame. So when you do get the odd great AAA, whether it be Death Stranding, whether it be the Doom games or something like that, then obviously they are great, but they are once in a blue moon, whereas every week there's something amazing coming out on the indie scene.
Absolutely true. I'm intrigued by Post-Trauma as well, so you put that up your list so I can hear what you think about it.
I've not played that yet. I've still got to start that. So I'm gonna. That's next on my list actually. To give that one a go.
Marvelous, good stuff. Yeah, intrigued on that one.
But that's it from me. I want to end on Despelote rather than the other game I was going to mention, which is fine, but again is a bit of a downer after finishing Clair Obscur.
Fair play, we'll cover that next week. So yeah, in the meantime, follow us on all the socials, check out our content on the website, join us to chat on Discord if you feel that inclined, and until next week, stay safe and stay sane.